Oh, Ronita, if you don't make me the co-host, I can't actually
Okay.
do the recording. I mean,
Mm.
I guess it is actually recording on the cloud.
I started doing it in the cloud in the cloud, so maybe because of that.
Oh yeah, but I'm not quite sure. Let me see that. How can we just get the cloud recording at the end? Okay.
So you did not you never did the cloud recording.
No, I never did it by myself actually. It was done by some others. So, but I guess it will not be a problem. Let us do it today.
Yeah. Okay, so I started the recording on, and then let me share my screen. I hope. I think everybody can see the page, right? I think it will be better for us to start with the problem number 3, which I remember Purvita emphasized it in the last meeting to prove this problem, because the universal property of the quotient topology is really important for us to know it well, because it's the building block of the quotient topology. So question 3 and 4 are just to prove the universal property of quotient topology. So uh, uh, let's prove this first, and you people first try, and I'll just give you a few minutes and all, like just try to get some idea. That's enough. I'll help you to do the to complete the problem. If you have anything in your mind, please feel free to share. If you, even if it is not right for the moment, doesn't matter. Please feel free. Just okay. I forgot to switch on my video. Uh, Uh, so I think I had already given some hints about the question number 3, the universal property, the first universal property in the class. Okay, so let me give any idea behind this question number 3? Anyone? So what is the question? The question is the the statement of the universal property. Uh, what is that? So it says that F is a continuous map from a given two topological space from X to Y. It's a continuous surjective map. So, and of course, the equivalence relation on X is the relation that their inverse images, any two elements in the same inverse image set is related. That is, X1 and X2 are related if and only if f of X1 is f of X2, which is the normal desired relation we are always putting, equivalence relation we are always putting on X. That is just identification through the map F. then the statement says that prove that F induces a continuous map. So this is, I forgot to write, this is like prove that. Prove that F induces a continuous map F bar on X mod the equivalence relation and Y on Y. So then we want to prove that F bar is continuous. So for that, what do you need? We need to start with an, am I audible to everyone? Since I did not understand.
Yes, yes, yes. You are.
Okay. So let's start with an open set U subset of Y. So our aim is to show that F bar inverse of U is open in X mod the equivalence relation, right? So yeah, so then we have the following diagram. Whenever we will get the quotienting, we should always draw the diagram to have the commutative diagram clear to us. This is the diagram. Here F, this is the quotient map pi. What is going on here? And this is the map F bar. So we have the following commutative diagram. So we have this in our hand that F equal to F bar composition pi, right? So now we need to prove that F bar is, this map is continuous. So then what do we know? We know that F is a continuous map. So therefore if we choose some U open set from Y, then F inverse of U is open in X since F is continuous. So this U open in Y, this is open, U subset of Y open. So this implies that F inverse of U is open in X. But F is F bar composition pi, so F inverse equal to pi inverse composition F bar inverse. So F inverse equal to pi inverse composition F bar inverse U open in X. Right? So now pi is a quotient map. So what is pi is a quotient map means the induced topology on X mod the equivalence relation is the quotient topology, right? So then what will happen? Pi inverse of F bar inverse of pi inverse of something, pi inverse of F bar inverse U is open if and only if F bar inverse of U is open. This is just follows from the definition of the quotient map pi. Pi is a quotient maps. So this means, so it will follow from here. I'm sorry, I'll next time I'll use the whiteboard probably. So yeah, so then this implies that this line implies pi F bar inverse of U open in X mod the equivalence relation, right? So it means the map F bar is continuous. Okay, shall I erase it? Is it clear to everyone? Okay, so I'll erase this. Okay, so now next problem is just the next part of the universal property, which says that if fx2 with the additional thing, exactly everything is there in, if f of xy described as exercise 3 together with if fxy is a quotient map, then f bar from x mod the equivalence relation to y is an homeomorphism, right? So if it is a quotient map, if F is a quotient map, then F bar will be a homeomorphism. This is what we need to prove. So homeomorphism means, first of all, this should be an bijection. And since we are already quotient, we know that this map F bar is surjective because F is surjective. And the map F bar is injective since we are quotienting through all those points where their images are same. Like injectivity means that f of x1 equal to f of x2 imply x1 equal to x2, right? But f bar of x1 equal to f bar of x2 means they has to be same because f bar is constant on the equivalence class. It means that f bar of x1 equal to f bar of x2 if and only if x1 and x2 are related. And the moment we are having x1 and x2 are related, this means that they are the single element. X1 and x2 can be considered as a single element in the quotient space X mod the equivalence relation. So hence x1, x2 would be the single element there in X mod the equivalence relation. Therefore, we are capturing the injectivity over F bar. So F bar is injective here, and F bar is also surjective since F is so F bar is a bijection. And from the previous problem 3, we have proved that F bar is continuous, right? We have already proved. So now what is remaining? Remaining thing to show it is to homeomorphism is to enough to show that F bar inverse is inverse is also continuous. And we know that is to show the inverse is continuous is enough to show that the map F bar is an open map, right? So we are trying to show that F bar inverse is continuous. This is our aim to show, to prove that F is an homeomorphism. F bar is an homeomorphism. So this is kind of equivalent to show that F bar is an open map. If you are not convinced about it, please try by yourself to see that why these two statements are equivalent. F bar is an open map. So now my motto is to now to see that F bar is an open map here. Okay, so how to see that F bar is an open map? Again, we have the commutative diagram. This is pi. This is F bar, right? So we have the commutative diagram F equal to F bar composition pi. So now we need to show that this F bar is an open map. What does that mean? We should start with an open set there in X mod the equivalence relation, and then we should show that his image is open in Y. That is the definition of open map. So we need to show that F bar of U open in Y when U is open in. This is to show. This is what we are trying to show, that F bar U open in Y when U is open in X. How to show this? The assumption is U is open in X mod the equivalence relation, and we will show that F bar of U is open in Y. Okay. How to see this? So if you observe that we already have seen that F bar is a bijection. Since F bar is a bijection, Yeah, since everybody is a bijection, let's take this, we can write it as pi equal to F bar inverse composition F, right? So now we know that U is open in X mod the equivalence relation. U is open in X mod the equivalence relation means pi inverse of U is open in X, since pi is a quotient map, pi is continuous. So pi inverse of U is open in X, and pi inverse means from here pi is this. So pi inverse means F inverse composition F bar. Just to inverse of this whole thing. So pi is F bar inverse composition F. So pi inverse is F bar inverse composition F whole inverse. So then it will be F inverse composition F bar, since F bar is a bijection. So then we have seen that pi inverse. So we start with U open in X mod the equivalence relation. Apply pi on it, inverse of pi inverse of U open in X. There's only way to go. If you start with some U in X mod the equivalence relation, you just have pi to take the inverse image to go to the push it back. So pi inverse of U is open in X, since pi is a quotient map, and pi inverse is F inverse composition F bar. So this means F inverse composition F bar is open in X, but F is a quotient map. So what does that mean? That F inverse V is open if and only if V is open. So if F inverse F of U is open in X, since F is a quotient map, it means, so F inverse composition F of U open, this is open in X. So since F is a quotient map, it means that F bar of U is open in Y. Right? F bar of U is open in Y. So then therefore we are done that the map is a continuous, that the map is an open map. Any question, any doubt, please feel free to ask. Is it clear to everyone?
Yes.
Okay. What about others? I don't understand. Like, please let me know, because I just want it to be clear. Because, yeah, what is this? Okay. Okay, so with your due permission, I am kind of erasing whatever I had written here. So now these are these two questions. So now let's go back to the previous questions and see that how to solve them. These questions are quite conceptual. Now let's observe the question number 1. Let f x to y be an identification map, A be a subspace of X, and given Fa the induced topology from Y. So that F restricted to A from A to Fa need not be an identification map. So it means that prove that restriction of an identification means quotient map. Sometimes I'm using the word identification also. So yeah, so it says that prove that the restriction of a quotient map is not necessarily be a quotient map. So what we are doing here? Any idea or anything? Does any one of you have any counter example in your mind to see that, yeah, this will not be an quotient map? I can give you some hint that start with x equal to close 0, 1 and y equal to s1. Okay, let me write it here. So x equal to close 0, 1 and y equal to s1. And the normal identification map which we had already seen is x goes to e to the power 2 pi ix. We had already seen this map is a quotient map. Can anyone tell me why this map is a quotient map? Anyone? This map is continuous for sure, and it's also surjective because any point on the circle is any of the form cos t comma sin t. So this map is continuous surjective, but why this quotient map?
So if I take an interval in close 0, 1, it will correspond to some arc on the circle, which I can treat as an open, as an open set on the circle. Hence, it's
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
yeah.
But
So it's an open map.
Okay. Do you
And
think?
in
Yeah, say.
no, no, and the inverse will also like work in a similar way, right? Because like so I mean like if I take the inverse of f, like if I take some arc on the circle, then
Okay.
it will correspond to some open interval in the closed interval 0, 1. So like f and f inverse, like f is an open map, and like basically if basically u in x is open if and only if f of u is open in y, and we are getting that in the
Okay.
way we are setting up the whole system.
But the definition of quotient map is not that u is open if and only if f of u is open, right? It's like u is open in y if and only if f inverse u is open in x.
Yeah. So that is also happening now because okay, wait, I might be messing up something.
I understood. Since you were saying it is a quotient map, that will follow from there. Since it is an
Yeah.
open map, it will follow from there. That's what the
Yeah.
kind of thing. But I have something here to think about. I am not very sure. So the thing is that if I have the closed unit interval 0, 1 and I have the circle here, which is my y.
Hello.
Yeah, Jivan, go ahead.
If we take a subspace topology of S1, then we will get an open R. And if we in close 0, 1 in subspace topology, there will be open interval. So inverse image, I think there maybe some may not be homeomorphic open arc in S1 and open interval 0, 1.
I see. Mm, if I have the, I have, if I have this set here,
Can I try again?
yeah, sure.
Yeah, so suppose I start with an open set in S1, which will be of the form of an arc, right?
Okay,
So, so
yeah.
it's of the form of an arc.
Mhm.
Okay, wait. So sorry. Suppose I take some open some set on S1. Then I take the inverse. I take the inverse.
Mhm.
If the inverse of that set in S1 is supposed to be open in X, it has to be of the, then in X it will have to be of the form, it will have to be like an open interval in X. If it is an open interval in X, it will correspond to an open arc in Y. So basically my topology on Y will consist of open arcs.
Yeah, I understood what you were saying. So whatever I have drawn here, you are trying to say this kind of thing is your open set in S1, right?
Yes,
Like
yes.
things
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, and you are saying that inverse image of this will be, if it will be the midpoint here, then suppose this will be the midpoint corresponding to that point, and then it will be like this.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I understood. This is perfectly fine. This is perfectly fine to think about, and this is really good. But if you see one subtle point here is, okay, so let me draw it clearly. So yeah, so if you have this circle and this is your point, so this is basically the gluing the point 0 and 1 in your X, right? 0 and 1 in X, that is your closed interval 0, 1, are getting mapped to a single point. Under the map, X goes to your 2 pi Ix. So,
Okay.
yeah. Are you saying anything?
Can no, I can see what the issue with that
Yeah,
is.
yeah, you understand, right? So,
Yeah,
so,
yeah, yeah.
so if you take an arc like this, then there will be a problem. The
Right,
arc which will contain the point 0. Sorry, the
right.
arc which will contain the point 1. This is the point 1 comma 0. The arc which will contain this point, then also there will not be any problem. There will not be any problem. But what will be the inverse image of this open map under the map pi? What will be the inverse image? Anyone? Can you try? So the inverse image of this kind of set, this kind of arc, open set, which contains the point 1 comma 0, will be this form. Why? Because the point 0 and 1 both are mapping to the same point 1, 0. So when you are taking the pre-image of that set U, let's call it U, these are, then you will be getting an open set. One is close to 0, one is a neighborhood of 0. So 1 and 0, 0 and 1 in the closed interval R, 0, 1, both will lie in the pre-image of pi inverse of U. So therefore you will have a neighborhood around 0, you will have a neighborhood around 1, which is your pre-image, pi inverse of U. Why? because this point 0 and 1 both are in the pre-image. So if you consider any neighborhood of the point 1 0, so it is nothing special about this map. Like if you have the map any topological space, let's say that f inverse y is the set for any point. F inverse y is the set x1 x2, let's say suppose xk. And if you want to see the open neighborhood of y, you need to see the open neighborhood of all of your x1 x2 up to xk, and it will be like a copy of open neighborhood of x1 union of open neighborhood x2 like union of open neighborhood xk. Similar kind of open neighborhood, union of them will be the inverse image of the open neighborhood of your y. So same thing is happening here, and this is what is happening in almost all quotient maps, for almost all quotient maps. Okay, so this will be open. So we are getting that pi inverse u is open for every open set u open there in y. Pi inverse u is open, and pi is so this proves that pi is continuous. But how to see that? So this will prove the fact that pi inverse u is continuous if and only if u is continuous. So it proves this is a quotient map, because any pi inverse of u is either of this form. Pi inverse of u is always pi inverse of u is always of this form, or it will be of this form, either this type or this type. So if I want to write it clearly, so pi inverse of u is, for any open set u, pi inverse of u is either of like this union of these two sig, or it will be like this. This is clear, right? From the map, from the diagram. You will, to make it convinced, maybe you need to think more, try to see more. Then you will understand that, yeah, this will be the thing. So then this will be your, so this means the pi is a quotient map. But whatever IPSA you were saying that this map will be an open map, that might not be true. Why? So let's look at this in this way, that this map might not be a open map, even though I'm not sure, but I think so, because if you see close 0 1, so what Jivan was saying, that was also this, right, that this inverse of this is open. But this is what the important thing to see, that only the difference is the inverse image, the neighborhood of the point 1, 0 in S1. That is the only difficult point, I think. So 0 1 is a closed interval here. So, and I have the circle. Let me draw it here. And I'm saying this map is might not be an open map. Why? Because close 0 1, if I have this kind of set, this will be open in close 0 1, right? Because any open set in close 0 1 is intersection of an open interval in R with the interval close 0 1. So there can be an open interval, right, which intersection is this. Let's call it, maybe this is 0, some alpha, where alpha is strictly less than 1 greater than 0. So now what will be the image of this under the map pi? What will pi do on this? This will be my 0. This 0 will map to the point 1, 0. And then alpha will map to somewhere here, right? Depending on how the length will be and this length will be same. So this will be my e to the power 2 pi alpha I. So this is the image of this. Okay. This is the image of this map. Image of this open set under this map pi. And you can all understand this is not open in S1. right? Because everything open in S1 is very like just consider S1 as a subspace. The open sets are just open arc, right? So this is not open in S1. So therefore,
Yeah, I can see the issue now.
yeah, so this map is not an open map, and you should keep. So I also had a question at the end. Maybe give an example of a map which is an open map, which is a quotient map, but this is not an open map. And if you remember in the last class, I have proved that a continuous surjective and open map is a quotient map, and same for closed map is a quotient map. So an open map, being open is a sufficient condition, but it's not the necessary condition for it to be being quotient map. So this is what that's why these examples, there could be plenty of examples like we can see like, but this is a very kind of easy way to see that the quotient map is not necessarily be an open map. Okay, so this is what the idea behind here. So now let's look at this problem. A is a subspace of X, and given Fa, the induced topology from Y, show that the map F from A to Fa need not be an identification map. So the restriction of an quotient map is not necessarily be a quotient map. Okay, so that's why we had given that example. F is from X to Y. X is close 0, 1. Y is S1. And what else? And the map is X going to e to the power 2 pi Ix. Right? So, and I am choosing my set A as close 0, open 1. And I'm restricting my F on A. Then what will be my F of A? Under the map, X goes to the power 2 pi Ix. Well, what will be my F of A?
It's going to be S1 only because like 0 and 1 are identified. So whether I keep them both or not is not necessary.
Yeah. So it will be S1. And if you observe that it is basically bijection, right? On A, that extra point is just either 0 or 1. So this F from from A to F of A, this is again a continuous surjective map, which is also a bijection. So now what is the point here? The point here is that then by the universal property, this map will be a homeomorphism. Why? What does universal property say? That if you have the space X and if you have some certain identification, if the map F constant on those identified points, that means on the equivalence class, then it will induce the map from X mod the equivalence relation to that space Y. So now just observe about let's denote it by F restricted to A. This map is a bijection continuous map, and this map is bijection. It means that there is no identification, right? So by universal property, it will be a homeomorphism, because the equivalence relation on A is now there. Every element is just related to themselves. That's it. Since the F mod the equivalence, F mod the F is the restriction of F on A is a bijection. So there is no relation in that sense. Mind it, the relation on X or relation on any set A means any two elements are related under the map F. That means their image are basically same. That's what the relation, equivalence relation always we are doing under the map F, right? That we are considering all those elements whose images are going to be the same. We are collapsing them together or identifying them together to get a single point in our identified space. So here, this is A. A has no identification. So the map, if restricted on A, which is a bijection, since it's a bijection, by universal property, this will be an homeomorphism. Like this, I'm proving it by contradiction. Suppose there exists a set A whose restriction is a identification map, right? That's what I'm doing. Like it says that show that if restricted to A to FA need not be an identification map, need not be an quotient map. Suppose this is a quotient map, then then there if mod A bar from A mod the equivalence relation to FA is an homeomorphism, but A mod the equivalence relation is nothing but A because there is no relation. Every element is mapping to the single, like it's a bijection completely. So therefore, this map is an homeomorphism. And this map is same as this map here, since there is no identification. So if this is an identification or quotient map, then by universal property, this will become an homeomorphism. What does that mean? That close 0, open 1. This is my A. Remember, close 0, open 1 is, I'm considering it as a subset of close 0, close 1. So close 0, open 1 is with the subspace topology from R. Is homeomorphic with the circle S1. That's what, if I assume by contradiction that suppose this map restricted on A is a quotient map, then this will become an homeomorphism. It means close 0, open 1 to S1, they are homeomorphic. Right? But they can't be homeomorphic. Why? They can't be homeomorphic because the simple way to see that close 0, open 1 is not a compact set because it is not closed. It's not a closed subset of R. But S1 is compact. And we know that homeomorphism preserves the compactness, connectedness, and so on. So this can't be an homeomorphism. Right? Hence, the restriction of F on A need not be an like identification map, need not be an quotient map, be a quotient map. Now tell me that if my justification is clear, or if you have some other justification to share in your mind. Please ask me if you did not understand anywhere, because I think the subtle point here to also see that the moment you are assuming that F restricted on A from A to FA, if this is a quotient map, then this will be a homeomorphism by the universal property. This point is something to think about, to understand. Also we can see in the other way that to claim that this map cannot be homeomorphism, we can claim in different way to see, because the map F restricted on A is not an open map. For it to be a homeomorphism, the map should be an open map, because otherwise the inverse will not be continuous. So the map is not an open map, so it can't be also homeomorphism. This is also a different way. But here there is something important going on. See, there is something very subtle here. So what we can see here, that close 0, open 1 with the subspace topology cannot be homeomorphic with S1. This is also something we got from this example. But if you remember, if you see the map F, just forget about now this part. See, just look at the map F from X to Y, where X is your close 0, close 1, Y is your S1. This map is a quotient map, right? This map is a quotient map from a compact space to a Hausdorff space. Sorry, this map is a continuous surjective map from a compact space to a Hausdorff space. So therefore, it is a quotient map. Whatever be the observation all of you had given, that we had seen before, that we had seen the arc is open here, then inverse image of arc is the neighborhood, open neighborhood, which is open there. That's why the map is quotient. But also always we can see that a continuous surjective map from a compact space to a Hausdorff space is a quotient map. This is very easy. Otherwise you do not need to think about what is the open set there, what is the open set here, what is going on under the open set. In this way, you can like kind of reduce your hard work in that way. But it's always good to see the open sets to have the proper visualization. But yeah, so we have a continuous surjective map from a quotient, from a compact matrix space or topological space to a Hausdorff space. So therefore, the map is a quotient map, as we have proved it before. So this map is a quotient map, and the quotienting is that 0 and 1 are glued. Hence, if you see our X mod the equivalence relation, this can be also written as X mod 0 identified with 1, right? Or 0 close 1 identified with 0 and 1. So by set theoretically, this X with the equivalence relation, by set theoretically, this set, which is X modulo the equivalence relation, indeed close 0, open 1. And did you see that we are gluing 0 and 1 in the quotient space? Set theoretically, this is close 0, open 1, right? Because 1 is not there, they are glued. And since the map F from X to Y is a quotient map, F is a quotient map, therefore by universal property, F bar induced by F from X mod the equivalence relation to Y will be the homeomorphism. Will be a homeomorphism, right? Hence, X mod the equivalence relation is homeomorphic to Y, which is S1. Are you following me, or am I saying something very fast? Okay, let me because this is something really important. I want you to understand this. So I have this F from X to Y, and X goes to e to the power 2 pi ix. So here, what is happening? So the equivalence relation where 0 and 1 are identified. This is basically close 0, 1 identified with 0 related to 1. This means that I'm doing this identification, and rest of the elements are just as it is. This will be my quotient space. This with the quotient topology is but set theoretically this is close 0, open 1. This with the quotient topology is homeomorphic to S1 by the universal property, because we have seen this is a quotient map. Since it is a map from a compact continuous surjective map from a compact metric space to a Hausdorff space, F is a quotient map. Therefore, F will induce the map F bar from X mod. F bar will be from X mod the equivalence relation to Y. Then F bar is a homeomorphism. But the moment we are talking about homeomorphism, they have some certain topology, right? But mind it, X mod the equivalence relation is homeomorphic to Y when X mod the equivalence relation is just the set close 0, open 1. So this set with the quotient topology is homeomorphic to S1 with the subspace topology from R2. So this set with the quotient topology is homeomorphic to S1 with the subspace topology. But whereas close 0 open 1, as we have just seen before, close 0 open 1 with the subspace topology from R is not homeomorphic to S1. We have just seen in the previous example. Close 0 open 1, we restricted the map F on the set A, which was our close 0 open 1, and under the map F of A was S1. But we have proved, or we have seen that map restriction, there can't be any homeomorphism between them. It's not necessarily any particular map. They're like, if they are homeomorphic, they can't be homeomorphic because one is compact, another is not compact. If you see it very like in that way, there can't exist any homeomorphism. So close 0 open 1 with the subspace topology, therefore is a different space. But if we induce close 0 open 1 with the quotient topology, then it will indeed be homeomorphic to the circle S1. What a strange thing, right? That's what is happening from the universal property, where everything like X mod the equivalence relation is set theoretically close 0 open 1, but together with the quotient topology. By universal property, this is homeomorphic to the circle S1. This is very important to observe, I think, and this is really you should like try to understand it well. There are two different things going on. One is I'm having a map X from X to Y, and I'm applying the universal property to get a map from X mod the equivalence relation to Y by universal property of quotient space, quotient map topology. And the X mod the equivalence relation set theoretically is the map close 0 open 1. So there, this is going on. Then it says from the universal property, it says me that, oh, this X mod the equivalence relation is indeed homeomorphic to S1. But we know that set theoretically X mod the equivalence relation is basically close 0 open 1. So we know this with the, but the moment we are talking about X mod the equivalence relation, we are always inducing or seeing it as a quotient space. That means the map pi is the continuous map here. So this is homeomorphic to S1, but the moment we have induced close 0 open 1 with the subspace topology from R, it will never be homeomorphic to S1. Okay, so let me proceed. Is it clear to everyone? Is there any question or any doubt? Okay. So this is what that problem is. So now let's go to the second problem. This problem is really interesting, this second problem. Please look at this problem. So what we are doing in this problem? This problem I am assigning just for you to understand how does the open sets are changing under the quotient maps and what is going on actually. Because topology means you need to always think about what is going on in the openness of the set. How does the open sets are, you know, deforming or changing or shrinking or whatever it is going on. Like that is what very important to understand to understand the topology. So that's why I assigned this problem just for you to visualize what is going on under the open sets. How does the open sets changes? What is the subtle point here? So in this problem, if you see, I have the set X equal to 0, 1 cross 0, 1, which I have already drawn. This is my space, right? So what is the identification here? I'm identifying S0, T0 with S1, T1, if and only if T0 equal to T1. So what does that mean? T0 equal to T1 means when my y coordinate is same and it is strictly greater than 0. So this is my one y coordinate. This is my another y coordinate. Like these are all the points when my under the some fixed y1. All those points where my y1 are same, right? So this means that When my y coordinates are same, I am identifying all those points. So doesn't it mean that I am identifying all these points? I am identifying all these points. And again, I'm identifying all these points. So I'm identifying all these points. This will give me a single equivalence class. This is one class. This is another class. Like corresponding to each of the y throughout 0, 1, except the x-axis. Because on the x-axis, the y is 0. Hence, I don't have any identification there on the x-axis. Right? Two elements on this are related. So these all are related to one point. This again, this all will be related to a single point. Does it make sense to you? Like, just try to understand what's the equivalence relation is going on here. That's what, that's all to, in quotient topology, it is all to understand the equivalence relation or whatever, the identification map. So all those points are identified to a single point. This, because these are all points, let's call it, suppose these are all points when my y is equal to, suppose say some y prime. This is my all sets why my y is equal to, let's say some y double prime. This will be some y equal to y triple prime. I'm identifying them because it says that, oh, when my y's are same, let's identify all those to a single point. So, but if you observe, anything on the x-axis are not identified because on the x-axis, y coordinate is 0. So they will remain as it is. So then what will be my identified space? What will the map pi do? Let x with the equivalence relation, under this equivalence relation is my identified space. So what will be my this space x mod the equivalence relation? How does it look like? Any idea?
Will it look like an inverted T? The base is the x-axis and then all the other things are like all considered as one point. So it becomes like, not exactly like an inverted T, but like, I think you get what I mean, right? One vertical line and one horizontal line.
Yeah, you are absolutely correct. Yeah. So it will be like something like that. And you can basically draw your this point anywhere, right? You can draw it here, just like whatever Ipsa was saying. And but here one thing is that you are taking this one. If y is 1, that will be okay. You are considering this is my y is 1. Still that is fine. But if y is 0 on the x-axis, that is not fine. So that means this will be some open thing, right? Means like you can say this, if I parameterize those points from 0 to 1, it will be 1 and this will be my 0. So it will not just take the point 0, because at x equal to 0, it will not, the equivalence class will be the single. So yeah, there will not be that much gap. I just could not draw it more finely, but yeah, you can say it is just like this something. Yeah. So, but this will be as it is. So this you can think in different way. You can think it is as union of two disjoint open interval, this space. Just if you take this close 0, 1 along the y-axis, so if you take it, if you take open 0 and close 1, then all those points on y-axis will be identified to a single point. So this close 0, open 1 is just a parameterization to a single point, and then everything on the x-axis will remain same, right? So you can think it as disjoint union of two open intervals, right? Because this is basically, sorry, open 0, close 1, which I am identifying this, disjoint union, close 0, close 1. In some sense, it's not that exactly to see that what does it mean, but yeah, there's some sense there is disjoint union of two space, two intervals. So now the question is, describe the quotient space X mod the equivalence relation and show that it is not a Hausdorff space. This is what the important part of this problem, to see this set X mod the equivalence relation. This will not be a Hausdorff space, whereas my space X is Hausdorff. So what's going on here? Why it is not Hausdorff? Which points will make the problem? There will be some points under which are non-distinguishable. We can't distinguish in some points by means of open sets. That is the meaning of Hausdorffness. Like we are distinguishing 2 points by means of some disjoint open intervals, by means of open sets, open neighborhoods around them. So we can't do it here for some points, right? So let's look at this more closely. Why this space is not Hausdorff? This is just to the visual understanding. There is nothing much mathematical. If you understand it, you can write the maths. There's no problem. So why this space is not Hausdorff? So for that, let's look at the open neighborhood of the points in Y, in X mod the equivalence relation. Let's look at the open sets there and open corresponding inverse image of the open set there in my space X. Okay, so let me again clear the picture. So yeah, I'm just trying to get more blank space. Yeah, so here, so this is my space X, which is close 0, 1 plus close 0, 1. And we have seen that all these elements on the same Y coordinates on the horizontal line, they are identified to a single equivalence class. Now I have my identified space, which IPSA has already mentioned. So that will become taking this point, but we are not considering this point. So here there's a thing. So now let's look at the open neighborhood corresponding to a point here. Let's look at some open neighborhood corresponding to this point. So how does the open neighborhood here look like? This is an open interval. So let's call this point, let's say some y0. It will be of the form some s comma t, where my t is strictly greater than 0. And I'm considering s is also my greater than 0, because if s equal to yeah, s is of course strictly greater than 0, because s, there is no, like, it can be s equal to 0, like this line. Yeah, so t is strictly greater than 0, all those points. So why not is that point. Now try to understand what could be the open neighborhood of that point why not in the space. This is my X. This is my X mod the equivalence relation. Okay, so the open neighborhood will look like this here, right? Just an open interval, sub-interval corresponding to that point. Anyone can tell me what will be the inverse image of this point under this is the map pi is doing. What will be the inverse image under this map pi? Let's call it U. Remember the point is on the y coordinate of the point is strictly greater than 0. And yeah, anyone have any idea like what could be our inverse image of this open neighborhood of the point y not in X
It's
mod?
going to be like a ball, right? Because once I'm taking the inverse image, all the variety in the X coordinate starts to show up. So it's going to form a ball, or rather here a disk kind of structure on
Yeah.
X.
Yeah, yeah. But it will depend on you are actually correct. But what are the pre-images of that point y not under this map pi? Like which points are
Right. I see the point. So y naught is going to be the entire line connecting the entire line of the form x comma y naught. So like, for example, if y naught is 0.5, then it's going to be that entire line x comma 0.5, or rather like y is equal to 0.5 contained inside x. So the inverse image would probably be something like a disk, but contained. So okay, how do I say this? It's going to be a disk. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying like if you first understand what are the inverse images, because there will be all those points which are identified to y naught will be the inverse image. And what are those points which are identified to y naught?
That entire line x
Yeah,
comma y naught.
exactly.
So the inverse image of the open set U will be something like, how do I explain this? It's going to be like,
Yeah. Say without any hesitation, no problem. Like I understood, you understood it.
yeah, I just can't like find the exact words to express what the picture I'm seeing in my head. So it's going to be something like, so it's going to contain the entire line x comma y naught. That's one thing for sure. And it's going to be like this disk kind, rounded rectangle kind of structure.
You're almost there because like the see like just think it simply. So I have the point. Now I have the inverse images of that point first. And I know that for it to be a quotient map, U will be open there if and only pi inverse of U will be open here. So it means the point, if I have suppose this is my one point, which is in my inverse image. All these points are in my inverse images, right? So just
Yeah.
consider one representative. Just consider one representative from the inverse image, and it should be an open neighborhood corresponding to that point, which is just a disk. That's what he was saying.
Yeah, so it's going to be a collection of disks basically.
Yeah, yeah. So it will be
Containing
like
the,
something like this, right?
yeah.
All of the same length, right?
Yeah, yes.
So and then whenever you were kind of identifying them to a single point, then all those points are collapsed to a single point, and then all those disks will be basically having the, so it will be just getting an interval kind of shape.
Yeah. Now I see. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, so this is what is going on, because always we need, for the quotient map, for it to be, because our motto or aim is to give the quotient topology on the space X mod the equivalence relation. Giving quotient topology means that if I have an open set there, inverse image of that will be open. Inverse image of that will be open. It doesn't mean much. It means that if I take any point which is in the inverse image of the certain point in Y, which is Y not here, take inverse image of that and think about what can be the normal open neighborhood of that point. That will be open there. So, and under pi, that will give you the corresponding open neighborhood, which we have drawn as U here. But yeah, but all those open disks are collapsed to a single thing, and then this will become like that. So this is what the corresponding inverse image and images of open neighborhood under the map pi of those points on the Y naught. But now there is something important to think about, some points on the x-axis. Let's think, I'm calling it x-axis. It's nothing x-axis, but yeah, I'm just for the simplicity. So if I take a point from here, it will look like something like s comma 0, right? So now I need to take an open neighborhood of that point. What will be my open neighborhood of that point? For this, here the definition of quotient topology is very important. I need to see how does the open set here look like. See, open set here will depend on open set in X corresponding to that point. Where will that point correspond? S comma 0. S comma 0 will somewhere here. It will not be somewhere, nothing special. Just S comma 0 will be here, right? But what is the definition of quotient topology? I need an open neighborhood of the point S comma 0, because that needs to be an open neighborhood of the point S comma 0. Pi inverse of U needs to be open in X. So it needs to be an open neighborhood, first of all. How does the open neighborhood of the point S comma 0 look like? Here in the space X. Now we are trying to figure out how does the open neighborhood of the point S comma 0 in the quotient space look like, by taking help or by means of the point S comma 0 in the original space X. This is what we are doing, because we know about X. X is a known topological space to us, but this topological space is not known. This is what we are always doing. We are seeing open sets there in our known topological space X. Then we are trying to see what will be our open sets here. But sometimes it becomes so easy for some, or like more intuitive to us, that we know that, wow, yeah, this will be the open set in the quotient space. But first the open set in the space will come to our mind, given space X. By means of that, and by means of the map pi, which helps us to identifying some certain points, we are making the open set corresponding to that image point in the quotient space. So now I don't know how, suppose I don't know how does my open neighborhood of the point S comma 0 will look like. But if I know that if I take the pre-image of that point, I might know, because X is a known topological space to me, and I need pi inverse of U to be open. That means it will be something open neighborhood containing that point. There is no other choice. It has to be some, it need to be an open neighborhood. Okay, so what could be an open neighborhood of the point S comma 0 here in the space X? What is, how does remember this is my space X, which is close 0 1 cross close 0 1, and open neighborhood means like open set under the subspace topology from R2. And in R2, the basic open sets are the disk which I have already drawn. Disk corresponding, open disk corresponding to a point. So how does that look like? If I have, yeah.
So an open neighborhood of S comma 0 will be something like a semicircle kind of thing. Because if I take the open neighborhood of S comma 0 as in R2, it's going to be a disk. And when I bring it under the subspace topology, it's just going to be like a semicircle.
Yeah.
Like, or rather a semi-disk would probably be a more appropriate term to use.
Yeah. It's not, I understood what you were meaning. Yeah. It will be the half disk. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah, like this. Right. So this is an open neighborhood and this is open. Now, what will be the image of this under the map pi?
So the baseline will get preserved as it is, and the parts of the half disk which are above the x-axis will all like get converted into points on the vertical line on the equivalent on the quotient space.
So how does it look like? It will be like this, right?
Yes, like that.
Yeah. So it will be some. So let me clarify it in more detail so that it will be easier for all to understand. So since we are identifying every point just above the y, it's nothing above the x-axis. Is wrong thing to say above the x-axis. Just everything except the x-axis will get identified with the corresponding horizontal line. So those horizontal points, they are these points. Everything of this, which is not including the x-axis, they will be identified to a single line, single point. So everything of this will be identified to a single point. So this much of thing will give me here like this, like the length like this here. So the open neighborhood of the point s comma 0 here. Okay, let me draw it again. So now so the open neighborhood of the point is, okay, this color is not good. S comma 0 will look like this, as Ipsha mentioned that it will be like to this open thing, open like whatever it is there. But don't you have the question in our mind that why it is not just, why we can't think it is just like this thing, not including that? Why can't, because it is very natural for us to think about, oh, if I have s comma 0, this will only be the open neighborhood. But why we include this? We including this to put, otherwise this will not be the quotient topology. Remember, we are quotienting it and we are making this x mod the equivalence relation to the quotient space, right? Under the quotient, like x mod the equivalence relation, we are inducing it with the quotient topology. It's not just like I said. The moment we have x mod the equivalence relation, we have the quotient topology on it. So for it to be a quotient topology, this map pi should be a continuous map, and this will be open here if and only if inverse image of this will be the open set will be open there. So for me to make it this, like for example, if we just take this as open neighborhood, just to this, not this one, then what will happen? Not this one, just this. Then what will be the problem?
It becomes like, so if we take the inverse image of this, it becomes just a segment of the line on the, so in X, it becomes like just a segment on the 0, 1 line containing the point S. And that is not open in X, because like if I consider it as a subspace of R2, then all open sets in R2 are of the form of disks, and here this is just like a line kind of thing, which is not open in R2.
Exactly, exactly. So if I take, so what IPSA is saying, if I just take this interval, then its pre-image will be in 0, 1 cross 0, 1, its pre-image will be just this. But this will not be open there in X, because any open set in X is the intersection of an open disk with the space X. And any open disk, if you see any open disk, it can't intersect like just like an open interval here. It can't intersect like that. At least it will intersect something like this. So this is what the open neighborhood of a point, the boundary point on the space X. So now we can think about why this space is not Hausdorff, right? So now let's look at this, why this space is not Hausdorff. We already are done. We already are there. So these points are not a problem. Problem will make by these points. Okay, let's look at this more clearly. Yeah, so yeah, so if we take some point here, let's call it S2, 0, and let's call it S1, 0. So then these 2 points I'm trying to distinguish by means of open set. Can I do that?
We can't, because like there will be at least 1 point in common on that vertical line. And hence like we can't have 2 disjoint open sets.
Because if you see this inverse image of this, so if this is an open neighborhood we consider, whatever be the open neighborhood, like this, it will look like something like this, right? Or this. So at least it will contain this. Because the open neighborhood of point there look like this, it will contain some part of the y, like some part of the y means starting from here to the lower, not like something like this part. No, as we understood it, because this is the open disk and it will give me the image under the pi map. It will give me the just like up to this. So if my okay, let me erase it. Yeah, so if I have this, and if I have, let's say this is my space X mod the equivalence relation, and then I have the point S1 here, and I have the point S2 here, and if I have the open neighborhood of S1, any open neighborhood of S1 will look like this, and then this something here, and any open neighborhood of S2 will look like this, and then something here or here, whatever. Then I will at least have this, which is common thing of 2 neighborhoods, so I can't distinguish them. So here hence the space is not Hausdorff. Does it clear to everyone? Any question? This is too important. Here important thing is to understand what is going on. Like if you see that you just accept the x-axis, you are taking identifying everything all together. So some part of x-axis, some point in x-axis also contributing something there on the top, just because like they are actually by picture it is not understand. Like if you try to see it, it is very difficult to identify all these things, like how we will we are drawing it in this way, but we are identifying all those far away point very closely, just except the one horizontal line, which is the x-axis. It's not that it's not that easy to do, right? Like whenever you are taking a point near to the just above to the x-axis very closer, then automatically something on the x-axis will force you to come it to the closer. That's what the motivation behind this. Like because everything is going on in a continuous way. Quotienting we are doing, everything is going on in a continuous way. There is no like nothing deformed. Everything is nice. So whenever you are kind of arranging all those points together, some points on the from the which is far away from the which is on the x-axis, they are also kind of getting close to each other. There is some. Okay. Even I am going to end the meeting soon, I think. Okay, so like this is what I had many things there in my mind which I was planning to continue, but I think that that will take much more time for us to understand, because things are not so trivially like happening. It's something very so many things are going on in the middle, right? We have to figure out what is this open set there, what is the inverse image of that. I completely agree, these are not easy. I completely agree with all of you. Like it was not at all, it is not at all, it is not at all easy for me too also. Okay, so we are done with the problem 2. So now the remaining problem 3 and 4 are done. Those are universal property of quotient topology. So the problem 5, which says that the quotient space Bn mod Sn minus 1, which is homeomorphic to Sn. Problem 6, which is related to the complex projective space. And problem 7, we had done, like give an example of a quotient map which is not an open map. We already had done it, like that map F from the space close 0 1 to the circle S1, x going to e to the power 2 pi I x. We had seen that map is not a quotient map. Why? Let's revisit it once again. We had seen this is not an open map because if we consider this close 0 1, the open set here is of this form. It could be of this form, it could be of this form also, but it could be of this form, this, then its image will be, since it contains the point 0, 0 should be included here, and then it will be like this. This is not open here. So this is a very important example of a map which is a quotient map which is not open. So we are done with the problem 7 also. So only I haven't had much problem in like intentionally, so that we can learn the thing clearly and deeply. So the question 6 is and 5 both are very important. So if you, I am actually planning to start I don't want to spend much more time on quotient topology, because otherwise it will be difficult for me to give some lecture or have some session on algebraic topology, which I'm planning, like at least I should start the fundamental groups to introduce the concept. But so that's why I'm trying to wrap it up soon. this quotient topological thing. And only the two things are remaining, question 5 and 6. And I feel like of explaining this to you because these two are really fundamental and really important. But question 5 is not at all easy. They had lots of steps. It's related to the stereographic projection, and I thought of telling something about the stereographic projection because I think most of you have seen it already, but I wanted to make you understand that it's not like to make it easy in some sense. So I was planning to do that, but it's a time doesn't permit. But next day I'll start the homotopy, which is a start of the algebraic topology. I'll not spend extra time for this, but if all of you want, then I can have one extra session, which could be on someday soon, to make you give some explanation about the problem number 5 and problem number 6, if you want me to do that, because these two problems are really important and it will be really helpful for you to see now. Later you will see it again and again, because it will be helpful for you to for the later mathematics. So I was planning to do these two, and there was actually plenty. Yeah. So, but I don't want to spend much more time on this thing on my actual session. If you want me to give some extra session or extra talk, I can actually present this problem, like if you want, or discuss these problems with you, or getting some idea. Let me know in the group if all of you want it, and then I'll make some extra session to give the lecture. And otherwise, I'll start the homotopy in the next day.
Ronita, how about you just insist all of us like to do it by ourselves and have a discussion over the WhatsApp group, because all of us are there, right? So if someone has maybe
actually
some hint and they are just going to grab it and try by, it will be more fun, right? And it will not take much time to what can I say?
That is true. I might give you some hint, that some corresponding hint related to some, like the steps which you need to solve the problem. I can give you the hint that I can give, but yeah. And if you find some difficulty, then you might tell me, or else I will always be there to discuss this with you over some extra session if you want. But yeah, of course, I will encourage all of you to. I was actually going to say that. I was kind of insisting and encouraging you to solve these two problems. And also, if you remember, there are some small exercise I had added in the previous sessions. I had always given some, this is an exercise, take this an exercise or something. Please try to solve them. Those are really be helpful, like for you to understand the concept. Because otherwise there is no point, like you will, of course, any one of us who will not be in touch of this algebraic topology in the near future will of course forget it. There is no doubt, but the feelings, whatever you will get, that you will not forget. The understanding of the intuition or the geometry, whatever you will get, that the fundamental thing, that you will not forget if you understand it now properly. So that's what I want. And yeah, I insist all of you to see both of the problems 5 and 6, and also some problems like that's why I added the quotient topology, the universal property of quotient topology problem in the problem session, because I remember that Purvitadi was saying it, that then I understood that it is really important to understand the proof of the quotient universal property, like that's the fundamental thing. So these are all like that. So also there are some questions which I haven't included in the problem session, which I had already given in my lecture notes or yeah, in the previous sessions. So please look at them, and I really encourage you, and I am always there now. Whenever you feel free to ask me anything mathematical here, I am always there. Like I'll try as much as possible to help you, like to have any conceptual difficulty or anything. But please, I'll be very happy if someone is coming to me and asking me it again and again. I'll really be happy, because I know this kind of things are not easy, and that's why I'm making this session. Otherwise, Otherwise, there is no point. Like, if it will be helpful for all of you, then only that is the purpose of these lectures and sessions. So just try to make it more successful. Then in the future also, if I'll get the time in my future, I'll try to have some more session. It will be more fun then. If all of us will be get benefited by this, and if all of us can learn some bit of maths at least. Yeah. So yeah, so let me know about this problem, but please let me know, please make an interaction, please try. I'm trying to make it more interactive, so that don't feel shy because feeling shy is not a, is it will kind of discourage you to do maths. If you, I learned most of the mathematics by discussion with people, and by because whenever you discuss with someone, whenever you will feel like motivated, right? Otherwise, this is something purely abstract. There is not much sense, not much life. So yeah, I hope this helps. So anyone has anything to say? Otherwise, I'm going to end this session. But I'm really insisting all of you to try to do these problems. Okay, I'm going to Purvita, so I'm going to end this session.
Oh yeah, sure. I'm just stopping the recording.
Oh yeah.